Growing the Future podcast is brought to you by Aberhart Ag Solutions. Join us as we talk to top entrepreneurs in the agricultural space about their methods of obtaining success in their endeavors. And now, your host, Dan Aberhart.
People still click on that like months later. I think we had a hashtag like Bachelorette or something. People come back to it. But I recently watched I wouldn't say I watched an episode. I watched like 10 or 15 minutes. You're resenting me for going into the weeds on this so soon.
No, it's so funny.
I watched an episode here the other day, and it's just amazing. It's just like an old as the hills Hollywood script formula. Like, I think when people go to Screenwriting Guild or get their what is that when the screenwriters, because they went on strike at one point.
Screenwriters Guild Association, the SAG.
Yeah, so they
Screenwriters and Actors Guild.
Yeah,
I think it is.
I think they literally teach you like certain formulas that are guaranteed to bring in the audience. And I think that's one of them where she picked one guy. She'd picked this guy, but he had, I guess, cheated on her, and so this was revealed to all the world. And apparently, I didn't watch the episode, but I asked the person who was exposing me to this material, like what happened. And apparently, she had to pick the second best man. I don't know if there's any parable in life for that, but picking the second best sometimes, just go with it. Anyways, but do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had been on the Bachelorette and where you'd be now?
I mean, I probably would have milked it for a little bit.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Actually, one of my college buddies who was part of that application process. It was his bachelor party a couple weekends ago, and we all reminisced about that.
That's epic.
And like they brought it up, like it was like a Apple TV. So they brought it up. This could have been you, you loser.
So what happened to him that he didn't go through it?
The guy that actually like supposedly married her.
No, this your buddy that was you had this bachelor party for.
Oh yeah, he had a big weekend.
But how come he didn't get on the show, or was he on the show?
No, he put in the application for me.
Oh, I see. I thought he put in an application for himself.
No.
What do you put on an application for the Bachelorette? Like dimensions, preferences, examples? Like, I
think you have to like do a lot of interesting facts about yourself. I didn't dig in.
Sleep by your buddy.
They probably made up a bunch of shit. That was just like. Try to make it the most before Dos Equis came out with the most interesting man in the world commercials. I think they were trying to go for that angle.
Well, what do you think about fame today? Like, isn't that an interesting phenomenon?
I think it's fake. I think people seek fame for totally the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right. Think about how many Instagram likes people are. I don't even have Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. Like who? I think about it actually from a perspective of authenticity. How many of the relationships do I have in life are transactional? How many are actually authentic? Right? I mean, life is very reciprocal. And you could say, oh, this is karma or whatever. But in essence, I've learned that what you put into a relationship is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
Right? If you work at a marriage should probably work.
Yeah.
If the other side is also willing to put into it. If you put into a friendship in terms of reaching out to them and not posting on their Facebook wall happy birthday, but literally texting them or calling them.
Yeah. Sending them something.
That's more authentic than, I mean, you can send them something like I'll send like a funny GIF, or I might send, I don't know, like a throwback photo or something like that to reminisce. But
yeah.
Excuse me. I mean, I think a lot of that is fake, and to be honest, it kind of worries me because even in
we're on this is the show.
Okay, just checking.
It's okay.
No, it's no, but I think to be honest, like even in like agriculture, or even ag tech. Let me get more specific.
Okay,
it's about how great things are.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around and like I'll be the first.
How bad things are.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit, like, guess what? We're not perfect. We got a lot of issues, right? We're trying to solve for this product issue or this user frequency that we want to build on, and so on and so forth. And you look out there into the auspices of Twitter and whatnot, and full guilt here. Like, I'm a party to it. You just see everything's going so great, and my platform or this platform is the best thing ever. If you don't use it, you're probably going to die.
Or you're going to shame you into using it. shame you into using biosol or the FOMO.
Yeah.
But what if we could get authentic and cool enough on social media, essentially we could share those parts. But then it kind of goes the other way where it's like, oh man.
Then you get shamed,
Really,
and then you're like a loser, and you're like, oh, you've got so many problems wrong that I don't want to use your tool,
Yeah.
or I don't want to use your biosol or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
Like the worst case scenarios. And I mean, case in point, let's talk about, there was the CBC article that came out about sustainability in Saskatchewan, some of the farmers and tools they're using and whatnot, and how they're applying fertilizer.
Yeah.
And yet, if you look at the very bottom of the article, they finally printed it in writing. The CBC did this. Western Canadian farmers sequester more carbon than they emit.
Right.
Like, hallelujah, it finally has been said. But it's at the...
Was Caitlin Duncan in that?
I think Caitlin was in it.
They're a biosol user. We didn't plug that on the show, but John Duncan, I'm telling you, man, he was one of the first. It's cool.
I mean, you gotta look at those more progressive people, right? And I think one of the interesting things is, what is the catalyst? One of the things that I think that a lot of agricultural companies try to solve for is, what is a catalyst to get a referral, right? Is it truly, again, thinking about the authenticity, what's the angle here? You're trying to sell me on this new tool. Like, are you getting a kickback or something? That's the immediate reaction that a lot of producers have about, like, why would I use this sort of thing?
Because I had somebody that I asked about the show and what do you see? Because it was really early and I was really insecure about it. I was having a lot of almost like mental anxiety challenges putting it out there because I was like, well, holy shit, does anyone care? Do people think I'm an idiot? You know, is we going to get engagement and everything is going to fail? But he said, what really interesting thing to me, he said, people are wondering, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Because I have a business that I want to promote ultimately, and I want people to get to know and like me and trust me and the people that I work with. And if you believe the same things I believe, that I believe it's very easy for us to do business, and we're all very like-minded in Western Canada. So, and we have all these amazing conversations that I have all the time. Why not share them? But it's like, hey, I'm a capitalist. Like, crucify me. It's all good. The end result is I got to do business. I mean, we pay the bills through that. I wouldn't have the good fortune of being here at AgSmart on a media pass. Yeah. Which I really appreciate. It's a brand new. Mm-hmm. But I mean, let's face it. Like, Eberhard Ag paid for the flight.
Those are some.
And the rental of the F-150. and
the beers later.
Everything, baby, everything. Eberhard Ag pays for everything, but I believe in today's world we do have that opportunity to communicate with our customers in a brand new way. You take your phone out of the pocket, and it's like, remember those guys like had to be on the parking lot and a used car dealership and pay $7,000 to be on TV to be an asshole? I can do it for free.
Well, time's worth something. You got to edit this.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I delegated. So in the last couple weeks, I delegated the podcast off, which is like 30, 40 hours a month. Wow. But lots of love. Like, I mean, when I went back and listened to what you said and I pieced it out and put it out on the internet, I was so proud, I was so excited, and I was like, I'm taking wisdom from these amazing people in a whole different way. Because how much do we retain of this conversation? When you leave here, 1 hour later, you go see a presentation, Brennan, how much are you going to remember this conversation? 10, 15%, or just a general theme like Dan's awesome?
I like to pretend that I have a somewhat photographic memory and I retain information. But it's also what I want to hear.
Does your girlfriend say that, or is like he has a photographic memory, but he never listens?
Yeah,
this is important stuff.
I think she's coming to terms with the fact that I know what I want to listen to and what I pretend not to listen to.
Don't you pretend to listen to it all, though? Or you gave up that? Just like acceptance of the facts here, folks.
I think it's very. I like to be transparent, right? Yeah. I mean, again, thinking back to how relationships work, are they authentic? And if there's a subject matter that I'm like, you know what, I don't really care for much of this, and unless they really care about it, then okay, I'll listen and I'll hear what your perspective is. I mean, case in point, you talk about someone's day, right? My girlfriend, she's a cardiovascular nurse, like a heart institute, works at the Heart Institute, and really saves people's lives on a daily basis. And
like a cardiovascular nurse.
I don't do that, right? Well, maybe I do. I mean, maybe we help them find a better.
You feed the lives.
Yeah, we help find people a better price for their grain and save their farm. Maybe, I don't know. If we take it that
so
level.
So knowable.
But I mean, that was part of the reason that we started the company, was to kind of give a little bit more competitive advantage to maybe people that don't have that competitive advantage because they're smaller farmers, maybe, right? They don't have the volume premiums or relationships for that matter. So. But coming back to the relationship dynamic, it's I think being transparent, and these are the things that I'm challenged with, or I appreciate, or I don't appreciate. And if you're not transparent, then those little bubbles start to fester, and you're like, wow, this is really annoying, this is really annoying, this is really annoying, right? And so I genuinely enjoy hearing about her day and letting her hear or vent potentially, right? Because in some cases, it's not a great day. And there are people that don't actually get out of that hospital, unfortunately, for, still breathing and living, and it's sad in that sense. And so I think, those things are important, but ultimately, it also comes down to the other person. Are they reciprocal in the sense that the feedback that I'm giving you is not to be offensive, but more so just informative, to help you understand how I think about things, or how I take this from my perspective, and basically trying to I'm trying to help you understand how I think about it, and to put you in my shoes for a hot second, and not necessarily just get defensive. Like, it's easy, how come you haven't cut the grass yet? I've been on the road for 10 days.
The grass is a little bit long right now.
Well, it depends if you've gotten rain or not.
Yeah.
Not in full lake,
if it's
really.
brown, part of you wishes it rained, but at the same time, when you get home 10 days after the road.
But I mean, this is like, we're totally deviating from agriculture here, but
welcome to Relationships with Brennan Turner.
This is we're going to actually be featured on Moira
I am
next
particularly
week.
a relationship expert.
Yeah, Dr. Phil. Dr. Dan.
It only comes with hard-earned experience, folks.
No, but this is emotional intelligence 101. Right?
In our personal relationships, but professional relationships.
Yeah, professional relationships almost more important.
Yeah.
Right? And again, this is the authenticity versus being fake in that sense of, and like, oh, that's really important to me. When knowing, like, I'm completely lying to your face, and you probably read it. If you have any emotional intelligence, you know that I'm lying when I pretend that I care about something. Now, not to say that as individuals we should not care about other people, right? Empathy is part of emotional intelligence, and I think that being an ethical capitalist, let's bring it back to the side of things. I always am thinking about the other side and how they might interpret my words, and I think this just comes with experience. Like, it doesn't happen overnight, right? And some the executive coaching, business coaching, which I think you've had some of, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Strategic
Going
coaching.
to strategic coaching on Friday.
And so therein, it's just a matter of kind of evolving. Just like we grow a crop, right? And what we do one year, we kind of take some notes on what worked, what didn't work. Maybe we change something up a little bit. Could have been like a 5, 10, 15% change, right? But the point is we take notes on that. Yeah, we don't take notes on how we evolve in our relationships. We don't take notes in terms of how our speech might have been. And, you call it journaling or whatever it might be. But just being able to be aware and self-aware and reflective of some of these comments that you make or digest, and how you've kind of interpreted that information and then responded to it, and how the other person felt about that. I mean, it's like really deep thinking in that sense. But I think there's a couple interesting tools that are out there just to think about, and that you can think about it, like how to be more self-aware. Like, you literally Google that, there's like, I don't know, probably a million different hits, right?
20 books on that.
But
courses.
And it's I think that
you think you're getting there? You think you could say, like, you could benchmark it, like, hey baby, I'm feeling pretty self-aware.
I think
but in 20 years you look back and go, he was a dumbass, cocky son of a bitch.
I think you can totally benchmark it. I think you can totally benchmark.
Like versus
and this
20?
Is, maybe like this is going to get
20?
maybe a little controversial right now.
Okay.
But this is why I don't think people, from a lot of reasons, but they don't like President Trump, is because he's saying whatever's on his mind. Mm-hmm. He is not a scripted politician, and he is putting it out there like, this is how I feel about the issue. This is how I think we're getting screwed by the Chinese, and this is how I think about it. And he's not. This is why he loves talking about fake news, is because he's trying to be authentic in that sense. And now, granted, some of the information that he shares might be a little bit questionable. The point is, like, let's talk about the trade deficit, right? For example, when he was referring to the trade deficit with Canada, the U.S. has a trade deficit with Canada, he was referring specifically to the goods part of the trade deficit between Canada and the U.S. But if you include goods and services, the U.S. is actually a trade surplus with Canada. So he tweaks the information to try to be authentic, about himself, but he uses it to his benefit. But
isn't it interesting that it's controversial to talk about a president of the United States? Like what?
No, I think that's the state of the world. I mean, if you look at the history of the world powers basically live. I don't know if we talked about it in our last.
Talk about the skulls and bones and all that.
But yeah, but we see world powers basically last somewhere between 80 to 110 years. Over the last.
That's got me really depressed the last time you were telling me about this.
Yeah. So it's
civilization
here. Let me make you a little bit more optimistic then.
Okay.
There's an indice that's out there talking about the four horsemen, right, for apocalypse.
Okay.
And it is at its lowest point ever in terms of the likelihood that the world's going to end because of famine. The world's going to end because of nuclear war or fighting or.
You got
violence.
the keynote this morning. Did you wake up? Actually, it was kind of a funny side note, but we got here and we were at Rob's last night, and a bunch of people were like, "Did you see Rob's truck?" We're like his truck, like with the wheels in the engine, or like his keys, because I couldn't find my keys to the rental this morning. But he's doing the keynote, and it was kind of funny because he's saying, "Did you wake up this morning and think about pestilence? Did you think about famine? Did you think about a war?"
Yeah.
And none of us did. We lost $50,000 truck. That's abundance.
Right.
It's crazy. It
Relativity.
wasn't that long ago we would work, and whole populations got wiped out in really meaningful ways.
It's all about
From
relativity.
Germs, we didn't even know what they were.
And
now,
yet still people want to get wiped out by
you're going
this.
to die from sugar faster than you're going to die from starvation. So,
Or coffee, maybe.
will coffee kill you or just wake you up, make you ready to kick ass in the morning? That's my argument.
I like that argument. We should put that on a T-shirt. That's like one of those things that says "drink barley," right?
Except we don't have beans here, so it's a fundamental difference.
There was in town here in Old. There's a coffee shop called Bean Brokers.
I stand corrected.
I thought that was interesting.
I stand corrected. Okay, well, what about the markets? Well, you had your big prediction there. I wasn't even sure if you're right or wrong. I think there was some rallies that went up and went down.
Yeah, I mean, we actually I was right, I believe, because I said
I think you were right.
I think I said something to the effect of the seasonality of the markets is always that you see highs.
We had a corn rally.
May. Yeah, corn rally big.
Is there that much corn out there though?
No, we just had a report come out yesterday that there's so many. It created more questions than answers, and everyone is expecting this to
Is it
come
fake news now too?
I mean, there's a lot of skepticism in the reporting that's coming out because the July report used bad acreage data, and so the market traded off of the bad acreage data, and the USDA admitted that it was bad acreage data, and so, well, I mean, ultimately, it's why are you putting your reports when you know the data is bad, and you know that the foundational pieces of that aggregate production puzzle, which is acres, is wrong.
How can it be bad today? Did you remember Rob's slide about who is tweeting what in the Trumposphere?
Yeah.
And where that was for GMOs, not for the Trump, I think. Wasn't it?
Well, something to do with like
it's a tweet map of who is being the most volatile or toxic about GMOs, and most of it was coming. The deeper blue, purple color was coming from like Europe and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You were a lighter color. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, we're watching this thing on Netflix called The Hack, where they have 5,000 pieces of data on you, and so in a room full of students here, you could ask who here has felt as though your phone is listening to you because it advertised to you the next day the very thing that you had a conversation with your friend about, but it's not that the phone is technically listening to you. So they have enough data points they can accurately predict your behavior. And you can't tell me we can't get this yield right. I mean, is Climate View hoarding this shit or what? Or Farmer's Edge is like, what is going on here?
Well, I think if you were to look at some of those companies and they were to put all their data together, they would have a much more accurate view of what's actually happening out there than what the USDA. And the fact is that the USDA is not willing to come to the table, as I understand it, to incorporate some of these more robust, data-driven scientific practices to be able to report on that information. So, I mean, I think they're changing some things. They're
still working with like abacuses and
I'm not going to speculate. So, needless to say, that the market just doesn't believe it. Like we literally had there's a private crop tour that went out last week, and they said that the average yield that they thought was going to come out was 159 bushels an acre for corn, and the USDA went to 169.5 bushels an acre. Right? How is there that much difference? We're talking about out of the 90 million acres that were planted of corn in the U.S. this year, 37 million of those acres, over a third, were planted after June 1st.
Right.
So if you look at the yield potential of that crop, we're saying that 37 million acres, more than a third, combined with the other 20, I think it was like 28 million acres that were planted after May 15th, which is the optimal date.
You start losing yield after that.
The point is that, the yield starts to lose its potential. And so the fact that we're saying that after last year's record yields, we're only going to produce a crop that's 10 bushels per acre less.
Right.
It just doesn't add up. And I've been in fields in Illinois in July, Champaign, Illinois, heart of Corn Belt essentially. They haven't received a meaningful rain in almost a month and a half now.
That's hard on a human being, eh?
I mean, it's hard on the psyche indeed. But
I wonder if they reach some point where it's like the survival instinct kicks in. Like it's bad, but at the end of the day, it's like we are, because the American spirit, you can't break those guys.
I mean, are we talking about the American crop? Or are we talking about the American
We're
farmer?
talking about the American psyche, like a lot of Bruce Willis movies comes to mind.
A lot of Bruce Willis movies.
Die Hard.
Die Hard
This is like a Die Hard scenario when your crops are that screwed. You're just like, okay, we're gonna have to dig deep here, and I'm gonna have glass in my feet, and it's gonna be bloody, and there's gonna be shots fired, but we're gonna make it.
I mean, tough times make tough people.
Damn right.
Right? Character is built through adversity and stress.
I feel like that about everybody that came to North America, but maybe it's just an inflamed view of self-importance. But
I mean, history is a benchmark from which you're not supposed to repeat.
you like to read too, eh?
I do read a lot.
What are you reading now? Did you get done the executive?
I'm reading.
I read, like, 5 pages.
I got that done. That was great. Right now, I'm reading a book called Reboot.
Okay.
It's about kind of like resetting your growth structure, your relationships, and stuff like that. And
I like
it's
it.
kind of taking a different angle to it. So it's interesting. It was passed to me by, or given to me by a good friend who runs the Swell water bottle company, Sarah Krause. Trying to think about literally saving the amount of plastics that we use, and she has this amazing water bottle, the Swell water bottle. And
I feel like for every area of industry, you have personal connection with the CEO. I guess that's Yale.
I mean, I think it's also just being receptive to, again, those authentic relationships.
Yeah.
Right. What's the purpose in the long run of being fake with somebody if you really want to get to know them and be, But I think business relationships are a function of strong personal relationships. And if that strong personal relationship doesn't exist, then is the business going to be actually a strong relation? Going to have a good strategic connection or not?
It's very personal these days.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Agriculture is the most intense overlap of personal and professional relationships in any industry. I'm in San Francisco, I'm in New York, I'm in Chicago. I talk to a lot of different venture capitalists, money managers, and they just can't grasp the concept that, we put X amount of dollars in, and they don't understand how these dollars come from somebody who works for this company but is also our cousin, or we've grown up with them for the last 25 years or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And they just don't understand this intense relationship overlap or entanglement, of how agriculture works.
Yeah.
And so, I think
They didn't get it in San Francisco, I don't think, and maybe that's not their function. Their function is
yeah, I
bringing
mean,
technology
it's
to
all about
market,
data.
right?
It's all about
Yeah.
data. It's all about sustainability, climate change, yada yada. Right? It's the buzzwords, and so I think that there's a lot of bets that are being made in agriculture that automation's an interesting one, right? We do need challenge. We do have challenges on farm labor, literally operators, right? I'm going to be helping out the family farm here later this week.
Right.
Combine, doing grain cart, being that dumb grain
Oh, you're
cart
doing the grain
driver.
cart?
I'll try to do anything I can.
Are you going to do like cab karaoke or anything? Can we expect anything cool from you? Or
I don't know. I don't really necessarily follow Meg's
if you
lead,
did,
but
well,
I think she's got a much better
she published her
voice than mine.
first video from 2 years ago where she started explaining how the combine works. I thought that was pretty.
No, she's
pretty
amazing.
interesting
Journey.
Journey.
She's been a great
Absolutely.
advocate.
Oh, of course. So what's big and what's next?
What's big and next?
Or just more of the good stuff?
Well, I think bottom line right now is that in the world of growing the future, the ag tech future has been really about the first wave of ag tech. I think has been the low hanging fruit. Let's digitize our farm records. Let's make kind of our relationships more online. Let's connect to one another, right? And I think the next wave, 2.0 of ag tech, is going to be really that cross-platform collaboration and communication. Excuse me. Excuse me. Ag tech, cross-platform communication. Wow.
Like a convergence. You need some sparkling water?
No, I'm good.
Sparkling water! Actually, I don't have any The system's here to help. Sherilyn's probably, no, I wasn't talking to you. I would never talk to you like that.
No, so I mean, we're seeing more of that. We're seeing more of that, and I think that actually that could probably solve some of the, we'll say, misconceptions, misinformation of like how a crop is grown. Right, sharing that information up the value chain becomes a lot more important. And I mean, I can tell you that we're having multiple conversations with both public, private entities, from bread makers to pea protein players, et cetera, about how to share this information, the pre-harvest data to the post-harvest consumers, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I think, and there's going to be room for probably more than, the thing about agriculture is optionality. Right? I drive red, you drive green. I use this seed, you use that seed. I use this chemical, that chemical, whatever it might be, right? Individual optionality is the king of the day. And so the systems need to speak a common language. And I think one of the ways to help push out a better message about how we produce food and why we produce it, and that the fact that, i.e., we do capture more carbon than we emit on the farm, is through some of this information sharing.
We could use, like we have profit maps, we have yield maps, we have EC maps. Why don't we have a carbon map showing how great and green we are? It should be green where we are.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. I'd like to have a
it'd be an interesting map.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Hey, just put it out there. Put it out there for all the precision ag companies looking for a carbon map, carbon sink map. Give us the carbon sink map and let's tweet them out. Carbon sink.
When are you and I going to build the Amazon of the input world? Is that?
Well, I think there's a couple companies that are trying to do that. I don't know how well it's going.
I actually heard Nutrients. Somebody said Nutrients going to have that on.
Yeah, they have their
tools to put that all together.
They've built their marketplace. The problem, though, I mean, the Amazon is an independent. Nutrient is not, in the sense that they make their own products, and so they have the vertical integration, and so it's hard to be the Amazon when you're the actual provider.
Isn't it easier? Isn't that what Amazon wants?
Well, they want to. I mean, I think the benefit of Amazon is that they started with really easy to do things like books, and then they branched out to other verticals.
That's a great point.
That I mean, it's hard. It's easy to move a ton of books, like literally 1 metric ton of books, than it is to move 1 metric ton of fertilizer.
That's brilliant.
So, sometimes analogies are easy to make, but they're not always easy to execute.
Have you ever heard of Mentor Box?
A Mentor Box?
No, the site Mentor Box.
Have not.
It's actually really cool. It's basically Netflix for books. So
interesting.
A lot of popular authors go on there and they get like 3 to 10 minute segments, 4 to 6 of them on video, just talking about the actual key points from the books. So, a lot of books, there's lots of great stuff in there, but really you're going to take away 2 to 3 key things.
Interesting.
Workbook.
Yeah.
Ty Lopez made it, man. It's funny. And at 10X GrowthCon, he gave a big speech about how to make $1 million, working 5 minutes a month.
I like to do, as we'll say, non-meaningful supporter of Amazon. I do have an Audible account, and I listen to a couple audiobooks a month while I'm on the road.
Kindle's beautiful.
Kindle's good. I haven't got that far.
Are you reading any magazines? Me and my brother were having this conversation.
So I subscribe to a digital magazine, you could say, in the Players Tribune.
Which is hardcore. What does that mean?
Which is a sports.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like a new age Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more intense. Like you see F-bombs in the literature.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more real in that sense. And I think it was started by Derek Jeter and a couple other professional athletes.
Yeah.
Just to kind of say this is a different perspective of sports and what's actually going on.
If we were going to do that with Growing the Future podcast, would you invest or create the technology or something like that? Or
there's a couple ways I can get behind it.
Love you, man. Thanks for coming on. It's great talking to you.
Always a pleasure.
I would keep talking to you, but there's someone actually much
smarter,
let's say,
and better looking.
Yeah.